Welcome back to a day in the life. We're going to change the oil on a 2013 Toyota Sienna. Here's what you'll need to do the oil change on a 2013 Toyota Sienna. I got some gloves to protect my hands, a couple ratchet sets with a 14mm socket. I also need a 15/16 socket to fit on my cap screw cover. So this is special ordered I got it on Amazon. You'll need some 0W20 oil. This particular vehicle requires 6.4 quarts, so you need 2 of these or a couple extra small ones. I got some funnels, place for the oil to go, place to contain the oil when I bring it back, and of course some rags in case of spills. This is what we first got to do. We got to get it up on jacks, or I got some ramps to roll it up on so we can get under there and get to the oil. So let's get that done. Once you get it up on the stand, you want to make sure it's seated completely up on the ramps here. So whether you're using jack stands or a ramp like this, make sure it's all the way up. Alright, our next step is popping the hood and opening up the oil tank. There it is. Here's the engine, and you can see the oil cap right here. So we're just going to unscrew this and get it loosened and just put it off to the side to allow the air to flow through from the top. And now we got to get underneath and drain the oil. Alright, I got my car up on the ramps. I shook it a little bit to make sure it's secure so when I go under there it doesn't fall on me. I put a little cardboard underneath to protect my back and help if I spill anything. And I've got my oil pan slid under here so that when I open up the drain, I have somewhere for it to drain into. Alright, when you're going under the vehicle, this is what it's going to look like. Try to get some lights under here so you can see. The oil filter is located right here. You can see it's got the smaller plug to drain it and then the bigger one to get the oil filter out. And then a little further behind towards the back of the vehicle, we have our oil plug right here. So we're going to be using our 14mm to undo that and drain the oil. All right, now we're going to take the oil plug out and let it drain. Make sure the pan is right underneath it. And a lot of times once you get it loose, you can undo it by fingers. I'm pushing it in as I'm unscrewing it so that it doesn't go flying out into the pan. And you got to fish it out with all that oil in it. And looks like it's ready to almost come out. And there we go. Now we let it drain, and hopefully it'll get all the bad oil out. So I'm going to take this plug and wipe it down. There's a washer on here. I'm going to inspect this. If it looks good, I'll keep it for the new oil. If it needs to be replaced, then I'll grab a new one and put this new washer on. Clean all the oil off of this while it's draining. Also, while it's draining, now is a good time to reset your computer that's telling you got to check engine light, or for mine it says maintenance required. So I'm going to do that while this thing is draining out. It takes a few minutes. All right, while the oil is draining, we got to get the trip A located on the dash. Let's see if we can see that right there. So it says trip A, and what we're going to do is we are going to hold the trip button in while we turn the car not on. Don't rotate it over, but you just turn the car on. So you go off, hold the button in, and then turn it on. And just hold it there, and eventually it will reset. All right, now that our oil has finished draining, I'm going to put the plug back in and tighten up the oil plug here so that we can get the oil out of the filter housing. There we go. Okay. Wipe that off a little bit. Okay, now we're going to bring the drain pan over a little so it lines up right here with our filter housing. And I've got to get in a 3/8" extension to loosen up the drain. There we go. There it goes. Sometimes you gotta tighten it up a little bit to loosen it. Okay. So we've got the cap off, and now we've got to set our little drain mechanism in there to push all the oil out. So I've got one that's got a screw, which is way better than the pushing kind. All right, here's an example of the drain plug with threads, and the one that came with my filter looks like this. Much harder to get it in there. So I just throw this guy out, and I keep reusing this one. Just wipe it down with my rag and get all the oil off of it so I can use it again next time. All right, so we're going to let that drain out. Give that a couple minutes too, and then we'll take the whole filter housing off and put a new filter on. All right, now that I got all the oil drained out of the filter, I'm going to remove the filter. This can get messy sometimes. So I've got my filter removal cap right here. I've got a 15/16" socket to place over the top of the cap so I can remove that cap. And it spins like 100 times, so let's see if I can get that off. Oh, gotta remove this plug first. Alright, so we got our old filter and our filter housing. So we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to take the O-rings off of this. So I've got a couple old O-rings here. Find the notch and remove the O-rings here and the one on the bottom too. Alright, so I got my new filter. Just plug that in there. Make sure it's seated all the way in. I've got my new O-rings. I'm going to put a little oil on these kind of inspect it first, make sure it's still good. Put a little oil on there. And wrap it around. Make sure it's seated in the correct spot, not where the threads are, but there's a little space for the O-ring to be. Got it. All right. Now we'll put this back in there. And we tighten it up. Okay. All right, now that we got that on there, we got to remove the other O-ring and put on the new, smaller O-ring. Get a little oil on that to make it more lubed up. Remove the old one. Put this little cover back on that we removed to drain the filter. All right, now that we got the filter replaced, the drain plug put back on, and all the oil drained out, we need to put new oil in. So I already took the cap off. I'm going to fill it up. So I got my little funnel, and now I need 6.4 quarts of 0W20. Carefully pour that in the funnel. This is 5 quarts, and I'm going to need 1.4 more after this. All right, and there you have it. We'll screw this oil cap back on. Wipe up any spills, and we're all set. All right, now I gotta find a way to dispose of the old oil. So I've got this container here. You can use just about anything. You just bring this to your local auto parts store to recycle the oil. So I'm gonna pour it in here so I can transport it and get rid of it. And notice how I've got the cardboard underneath in case it spills. Makes it a little easier for cleanup. This particular pan has a nice spout to help me get all the oil out without making too much of a mess. Alright, when I'm finished, I always like to wipe down my tools because they all inevitably got some oil on them. So I get a rag, wipe them all down, get them cleaned off so they're ready for the next time.